Story 1. Admitting they were wrong. When new information or data is presented, or upon double-checking a source, a smart person integrates this into their worldview and changes. They are smart, not omniscient. A dumb person just holds onto their view. Story 2. Accepting mistakes. Some people think of it as a sign of weakness or stupidity, but it is really a powerful indicator of cognitive flexibility and a healthy learning and growth mindset. Story 3. Asking questions. Uninformed people think they are uninformed because they do not know the answers. They are uninformed because they never ask the questions. Story 4. Some highly intelligent people abstract a situation and make a statement based on that abstraction. Less intelligent people do not recognize the abstraction and think that what they said is wrong. Story 5. Mispronouncing words during a discussion usually means the person learned the word by reading. Story 6. Being able to communicate in whatever way the other party is speaking is important. If one person uses normal words in a conversation while the other sounds like they are throwing random syllables out, but both are actually holding a conversation, that is impressive. Demanding people speak at your level is rude. Learning to communicate to whatever audience is in front of you is intelligent. Story 7. Not giving any energy to unwise people. Too many times in my life have I argued with unwise people. It is just not worth my time. Story 8. Speaking more than one language while having an accent from your first language is common. People may be quick to make fun of someone who has broken English, but somehow those only knowing English are seen as being smarter. This is not true. Story 9. Asking a question. Everyone thinks they are smart until one person asks for clarification, and the teacher corrects themselves by saying, "Oh no, do not do that. That can get you killed," to a room of people who were just about to do it. Story 10. Willingness to change your mind with new information is important. Most people try to attack this by saying you are contradicting yourself or claim victory over a debate and leave it at that, even when the discussion is not over yet. I am not trying to change your mind. I am trying to discuss topics with you, and if you know something I do not, I will happily acknowledge that or admit I was wrong. However, some people become very confrontational and emotional about it. Story 11. Nuance. People mistake a nuanced answer, or a refusal to give a completely definitive black and white answer, for a lack of knowledge or expertise. They think you are trying to avoid giving an answer when you are actually providing a more complete and comprehensive response. Often, the more you know about something, the less you can give oversimplified, black and white answers because those reductive answers are not true or accurate. The world is not that simple or straightforward. Sometimes the science is not settled on an issue. People might think it shows a lack of intelligence to not know the answer to a question, when it is actually the opposite. An intelligent person is aware that the evidence is, at the time of asking, inconclusive. Story 12. Patience is the recognition that a situation can be complex and requires problem solving. Losing your temper the second you do not get what you want is a sure sign that you do not understand how things work and are unwilling to learn. Story 13. I think the concept of intelligence from a public perspective is somewhat off-center. From what I can tell, there are several types of intelligence. Specialized intelligence, which refers to people who are incredibly knowledgeable about a specific topic, trade, or skill, and generalized intelligence, where individuals have such a broad scope of knowledge that they perceive things specialized intelligence cannot. Pattern recognition, the ability to look at data and organize it into fundamental characteristics, is also a type of intelligence. I observed a man who I believe had Down syndrome figure out how to obtain free food from employees at a restaurant within a week. That man was not unintelligent. Even if someone told him to do it, he executed the strategy successfully. For me, this concept visualizes as a triple Venn diagram, where you fall into one of the three categories or a mix. Story 14. Those who truly believe in Socrates' saying, "The only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing," are people who speak less and judge based on actions, not words. Story 15. Being honest about how intelligent they are. People stating that they are highly intelligent is almost always taken as a sign of a fool with an egotistical delusion, but sometimes people really are just highly intelligent. Story 16. People who act like they know more than the news are saying. I am not saying the news is lying. I am saying the person who said it does not know either and was just guessing too. I will give you an example. A couple of years ago, there was a huge story in Thailand about a group of kids stuck in a cave. At that time, we did not really know whether they were still in the cave, whether they were dead or alive, drowned, or somewhere else. The news was all saying, yes, they are in the cave, we need to go get them. The police and the military set up a rescue. People prayed for the best and prepared for the worst. There was a post circulating on social media where a man was talking to another man in a bar. He implied to be a super secret Central Intelligence Agency type and said that this cave was used for drug smuggling. He claimed there were no kids in there, and if there were, they were being... You get what I am saying. Turns out the kids were still in there. We found them and they were rescued. The conspiracy person was wrong. Story 17. Being disorganized is a fine line between messy and cluttered, but many very intelligent people cannot organize their rooms or desks to save their lives. Story 18. Saying you are correct to people who always want to be correct is pointless. There is no value in having discussions with them. Story 19. Not just repeating whatever you heard someone say online word for word. If you say something simple that everyone has heard before, they will be inclined to agree. If you say something nuanced or new, they will be more inclined to disagree. Story 20. Saying, I don't know means not always having the right answer when you reject a wrong one. I am not sure what 957 times 896 is, but I know it is not 4. Story 21. Listening to an entire conversation before replying. Being thoughtful before replying. Many people interpret this as not caring or being slow. Story 22. I think intelligence is an uneven thing. Some people can write symphonies, some can list all the elements of the periodic table, and others can name various arthropod species. We are all smart in our own way. Just because someone is ignorant in one subject does not mean they are stupid. Remember that the next time you see videos trying to make people on the street look dumb just because they cannot name a country in South America from memory. Story 23. Knowing you do not know is a good start. I say I do not know a lot, and most people who comment on it think I lack confidence and conviction. I guess I am supposed to make things up and be confident in my own nonsense. Story 24. Thinking before you speak. If you are asked a question and think for a few seconds before you answer, I would say it is a good sign. Story 25. This is just asking people who think they are intelligent to say something they do. In my opinion, you cannot tell if someone is intelligent unless you get to know them. In my experience, there have been many people who seem intelligent but cannot hold a conversation and only interrupt to try to disprove the speaker in order to appear intelligent. The most intelligent person I have met is someone who might seem foolish to many because they do not overthink when they speak, go with the flow, and are not afraid to look silly to make things more enjoyable. The moment it became clear to me was when this person was challenged with a hypothetical scenario but made the supposedly intelligent person appear foolish for taking it seriously. Story 26. Admitting you are wrong, admitting you do not know something, and asking questions. Also, speaking confidently about an area of expertise. People tend to dismiss you as overconfident or arrogant, especially if you're informed. Professional opinion contradicts their views. Story 27. People who are able to support others are truly intelligent and have a deep understanding of emotions and what to say to help. I believe this is about empathy. Story 28. Ability to be quiet and listen. Take a moment to formulate a response. Conserve words. Provide arguments that are on topic and avoid false equivalencies or distractions. End the conversation when the other person is unable to conduct themselves with reasonable discourse. This may not be a perfect answer, but I am tired of what the appearance of intelligence has become, just being loud and talking without regard for accuracy or facts. Story 29. Sometimes being unable to choose sides or easy answers, even if it means struggling with ambiguity. Story 30. I don't know if this makes sense, but going into a trade or attending community colleges is a good option. Many people only associate massive amounts of schooling and Ivy League schools with intelligence, but those options are very expensive. Going into a trade or earning certificates through community colleges is much less expensive and can provide a decent income. Story 31. Asking questions or saying I do not know, especially when it comes to difficult topics like politics. No one really knows the consequences of a new law, but everyone with lower intelligence has an opinion about it. Story 32. Listening to podcasts and audiobooks at 3 times the speed and comprehending them. I get about 24 hours worth of audio enjoyment from 8 hours of listening. I wish I could do this with my recorded television shows. Story 33. Anyone who is really good at anything is showing intelligence. However, society usually thinks of intelligence as looking a certain way, such as having a job in technology or science, wearing glasses, and using complex words. In reality, if someone is really skilled in mixed martial arts, playing the guitar, or managing their emotional relationships, they clearly have intelligence to figure things out relative to what they care about, even if they do not appear to look the part. Story 34. I think I'll say overthinking is sometimes bad and exhausting, but sometimes it does help you. For me, I overthink simple things like, yeah, I said that these will be the following results, and I prepare something ready for those. So it's like predicting the future. Of course, you'll have to know about the person a bit you are doing this to. Story 35. My boss is difficult. However, instead of continuing to be angry with her and working against the problem, I decided to work towards a solution. I asked her to come with me and we sat down. I asked her to help me understand why she behaves this way. It ended with her realizing this was the first time someone approached her and was interested in how she feels. I think I made her rethink her behavior. It seems like she started to reset herself, and the new update is still loading. She is calm now. I guess the mission was successful. I don't know if this act of kindness is considered intellectual. You tell me what you think. Story 36. My dad worked with many great minds, and he always said the most intelligent people he knew were those who could speak to everyone in the room. As I went through college and my professional career, this has really become apparent to me. Story 37. Asking thoughtful questions is a sign of intelligence. Even if some people think it is not because it reveals someone's ignorance, it shows that a person is open to learning new things. Story 38. Sometimes people think you have nothing to say, but you are just listening and processing instead of speaking impulsively. Story 39. Being highly skilled or holding a high rank in fighting games like Street Fighter 6 is impressive. The top 500 players achieve the legend rank. I am willing to wager that all of them are intelligent individuals. You will not find a foolish person in the legend rank of a game where you need to make hundreds of calculations per second and outsmart and outplay your opponent. Story 40. Being able to present information in the simplest terms possible is important. Obscure vocabulary is sometimes necessary, but only when there is no simpler word that accurately conveys the information. Story 41. Keeping quiet. Most times it's better to listen rather than talk. They do not need to prove they are smarter, have all the answers, or have an opinion on everything. Just because I am being quiet does not mean I agree with the things you have been saying the last 20 minutes. Sheila. Story 42. Coming across as scatterbrained. Yes, sorry. I missed that last turn, and I was not fully listening to your directions because while you were talking, I was daydreaming and came up with a solution that will save the company a lot of money. Story 43. Being hopeful. People want to call it toxic positivity, but it is not. Toxic negativity probably exists. Science shows that hope is necessary for life. However, some people choose to wallow in depression as if it is cute or cool. When I turned to hope and stopped making suicidal jokes, my mood improved. Do I still get depressed? Yes, but it does not sink me down as deeply, and I recover faster. Hope does not care if you believe in it or not. Hope was found at the bottom of Pandora's box, bruised, bloody, beaten, and still willing to fight for you. Story 44. Social skills. Strangers rank their intelligence. IQ versus first impressions. Story 45. Using art to express your thoughts and feelings can prevent it from becoming a burden if someone disagrees with your perspective. Story 46. Oh look, another person is making one of those text-to-speech videos. Don't forget the Minecraft or Subway Surfer videos for the background. Story 47. Requesting an individual to explain a concept you already comprehend in order to evaluate their understanding of the subject. Story 48. See, you cannot simplify intelligence. Everyone is a genius in their own ways. Granted, not everyone is smart or a genius, and that is just being honest. Yet, where one person is intelligent here, it does not mean the other person is not intelligent there. One person can be emotionally intelligent. Another country can be emotionally intelligent. Another could be naturally intelligent. They do not always have the same signs either. It is not a simple answer. Story 49. Having a twisted sense of humor. Being able to make light of difficult situations or taboo subjects instead of getting offended. Being able to realize that the joke is very wrong but hilarious. Story 50. I see what you mean. I might have misinterpreted the original poster's last sentence. That being said, they did say it is a true intelligence that often manifests itself in simplicity, which I am not convinced exists, and if it does, that it necessarily manifests most often by expressing complex topics in a simplified manner. Furthermore, I am largely responding to the collective sentiment of the original poster's comment. I see this take quite often on Reddit, and people usually interpret it to mean that real intelligence is only when you are able to explain complex things simply. Looking at the other replies to the original poster's comment, there are definitely some people who express this sentiment. Story 51. Intelligent people have nothing to prove and will not waste their time on fools. Story 52. Being able to remain silent when you do not agree with people who are clearly wrong, such as trying to convince someone with racist views to change, is important. Story 53. Changing your mind when presented with new evidence is often seen as being indecisive, but it is actually one of the clearest signs of critical thinking. Story 54. Asking many seemingly unrelated questions. Usually, the questions a person asks are tangentially related to what has been discussed but not directly related. This is often interpreted as being somewhat daft, but it is actually an expression of profound curiosity combined with a touch of social aloofness. Story 55. Disdain popular culture. I have met many people who believe themselves to be more intelligent than others and whose hobby was to belittle other people's tastes. For example, it was enough for you to say you liked a movie for that person to express how much they hated it and the people who were fans of that fiction. Obviously, it is okay not to like the same things as others, but there are ways to express it. Trying to position yourself intellectually above others using that as a pretext is neither pleasant nor coherent. Story 56. Being resolute in your morals is important. However, if something genuine changes your mind, then you should explain why and how the new information changes your stance. For example, speaking to vegans changed my view of the industrial meatpacking industry. I now see a good profession being transformed into a perverse money-making operation rather than a necessity to feed people. I still eat meat and use animal products, but I now see it as a circumstance of a capitalistic world. I would switch to being vegan if it were not difficult to keep a fridge and home stocked at a reasonable price while living and eating alongside other people. Many people see changing their views as being wrong or finally getting educated, but conceding moral ground to seem smart is misguided. You need to be able to explain to yourself and others how and why new information and evidence change your views. Otherwise, you take things at face value and work from assumptions. This is how we reached the modern day, where individuals who resemble Tony Stark are praised for being geniuses, while in reality, they rely on their family's generational wealth to overshadow the teams who do all the actual work. Story 57. This is going to be really specific, but if a child has very high reading comprehension and can explain university-level concepts accurately at a very young age, chances are they are incredibly intelligent and gifted, and not just precocious know-it-alls. Unless you want a life story, do not ask how I know this. Story 58. Show kindness, even if you do not benefit from it. Share things you do not need because you do not forget how it is to have nothing. Even when you cannot understand someone's view, still make an effort to understand. As you can see, I am a sucker for emotional intelligence. Story 59. With common sense and a plan, do not give chance or hope to minor possibilities. Time is valuable and efficiency is paramount. Story 60. Defiance as a very young child is not being difficult but showing independence as motor skills allow, wanting to do what they desire rather than what they are told. Story 61. In some places, living within the means. In other places, working in academia because scientists are paid very little, and what smart person would choose that? In yet other places, not taking advantage of other people's situations. Sometimes it is the same place to live. Story 62. Funnily, people apparently think that both being antisocially quiet and being loud and assertive are signs of intelligence. Story 63. Honestly, I think overthinking is a big issue. People often see it as being confused or slow to act, but for me, it is just my brain running extra simulations before making a move. It is not hesitation. It is collecting data. Story 64. Being able to have a conversation with someone without using curses or informal language is actually possible. Story 65. Understand the topic thoroughly, but allow someone else to explain it to build their confidence. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.